Johnny Appleseed, A Little Golden Book. This book is dedicated to Keaton Lowmen. Read to you by Luke Simons. One fine September day, more than 200 years ago, a boy named John Chapman was born. Someday he would be famous, but he would be known by a different name, Johnny Appleseed. Johnny grew up in Massachusetts, in a small, crowded house. He liked to take long walks in the woods, where it was calm and quiet. He liked to feel sun on his face and the earth under his bare feet. When Johnny turned 18, he took a very long walk, more than 400 miles. He brought along food, supplies, and sacks of apple seeds. Johnny had an idea. Settlers were starting to go out west in covered wagons, looking for new places to live. Johnny figured they would want apples to eat and press into cider. But there were no apple trees out west. Even if the settlers planted seeds, it would take years for trees to sprout and grow fruit. Why not give the settlers a head start? Johnny reached Pennsylvania. Near a river, he found a patch of land with rich soil and plenty of sunlight, a perfect place for growing apple trees. He planted some trees, then he built a sturdy fence so that when the new seedlings came up, deer and rabbits wouldn't eat them. It was his first nursery. Johnny planted more seeds, thousands of them, across Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Indiana. He worked and he walked, going from nursery to nursery, tending his trees. Meanwhile, the settlers came. Sure enough, they wanted apples. They were happy to pay Johnny a few cents apiece for seedlings. Sometimes he even gave them away to families who were down on their luck. People spread the word about Johnny and his apple trees. That's how he got his nickname. Have you met Johnny Appleseed? He's mighty kind, people said. Mighty particular, too. It was true. For one thing, Johnny looked strange. He wore old, raggedy pants. He cut holes in coffee sacks to make his shirts. He still didn't wear shoes. By now, folks claimed his feet were so tough a snake's fangs couldn't prick them. People even swore they saw Johnny wearing a tin pot for a hat and cook his dinner in it. Johnny's diet was another thing people couldn't get over. He didn't like to hunt animals, so he wouldn't eat meat, not one bite. He filled up on corn mush, potatoes, and nuts instead. And when night fell, Johnny liked to sleep outdoors. He settled into a howl log or stretched out on a pile of leaves. He didn't seem to worry about the bears, the panthers that roamed the woods. It was almost as if Johnny was a forest creature himself. Johnny might have been odd, but he was friendly. He got along with just about everyone he met. Native Americans shared their trails with him. They also showed him which berries were safe to eat and how to make medicine from their leaves and roots. Settlers invited Johnny into their cabins and asked him to tell stories. Sometimes he read the Bible. Good news fresh from heaven, he'd say. Other times he acted out his own wild adventures. People told Johnny's tales and made up new ones too. As the years went by, the tales grew taller and taller. Did you know Johnny can thaw ice with his bare feet? He has a tame wolf that follows him around like a puppy. Once he tricked 10 woodsmen into a chopping contest. They cleared a whole acre of land for a nursery. The stories wandered their way west and east and back again. So did Johnny. He traveled hundreds of miles a year, making new nurseries and tending the old ones. Every so often, he rode a horse or paddled a canoe, but most of the time he walked and walked and walked. He kept this up nearly 50 years. One day, when he was 70 years old, Johnny walked through a snowstorm to fix a fence around some of his trees. Afterwards, he fell ill and died. Johnny and his apples. The apples that grew on Johnny's tree were mostly splitters. That meant they were too sour to eat. Settlers used them to make cider and vinegar. Johnny's worn-out clothes made him look poor, but he wasn't. When he died, he owned over 1,000 acres of land. There's a monument for Johnny in Indiana near the spot where he died. The stone lists both of his names, Johnny Chapman and Johnny Appleseed, and underneath, he lived for others. Johnny probably walked more than 100,000 miles in his lifetime. If you go and click on the playlist, you are going to see on the playlist that I have back-to-back wholesome, good kids' books that I read to kids. This book has been brought to you by Luke Simons and narrated to you by Luke Simons. May the Lord guide and keep you. Until next time, this is Luke Simons. Happy trails.